So if insurance company will start paying the claims, we don't need public adjusters.
Everybody kept the 10 commandments, it'd be like heaven on earth. What you just described is kind of, it's a mental issue.
What did you do, hire actors?
No, I was just thinking about how, I was just stronger than all of you guys because, God gives me strength like Samson.
How does religion helps this business?
I can't answer.
Unbelievable. Give one advice to contractor.
My number one.
Not necessarily with the public adjusting, just with the claims. Like, let's say someone just starts in, doesn't understand insurance claims, doesn't understand the whole game. Yesterday, we're just writing estimates on a piece of paper. Today, like, I get this question a lot. I want to get an insurance game, and people are very afraid or careful with third parties. What can contractor do to understand insurance claim and start working with insurance companies?
Well, I think the number one thing is have integrity. You always have to have integrity. I mean, you just can't get around it. Okay, sure. You got to have integrity. And if you have integrity, then I would say try to outsource everything that you can to great companies that you've personally vetted.
Can they learn Xactimate on their own?
Yeah, but yeah, sure you can. I mean, but why really? Why? Because there's companies that do that. I mean, public adjusters do that kind of thing. And so I would say, outsource everything you can and get really good at something. And
I'm going to fight you on it a little bit, if you let me. There's integrity only as good as, okay, so if I'm a contractor, I have my definition of what's fair. So let's say today, let's say I've been in business for 3 years. Let's say my dad owns the company and now 3 years ago I took over. Okay. So let's say we charge $350 per square. Yeah. And that's for me what's fair. That's my integrity. Okay. The reason I ask this question because homeowners often, when we start getting insurance claims, homeowners often start asking us why your price is different when you start working with my insurance company. Why don't you keep your $350? So let's say insurance now pays $450. How do you overcome that integrity or block or fair game block for yourself? So for you, fair price is $350. But if you write the estimate, now if you work with an insurance company, you can charge more. Isn't it? Do you see where I'm going with it?
Yeah, I do. I do see where you're going with that. Look, I think that, first of all, you shouldn't be, most jobs, I would say, are insurance jobs. Meaning, if you go to, unless it's a new construction, right? But if you take me to a house that needs a new roof, it most likely has wind damage of some sort. It's got broken tabs.
It has nothing. What is just old roof? 20-year-old roof? If
you take me to a 20-year-old roof, it's going to have damage. It's going to have damage.
So in your experience and your opinion, every single house on the market should be insurance claim, paid by insurance?
Almost. I mean, basically, if you have, if somebody's just has plenty of money and they're like, look, I don't, I have a shingle roof and it's only 3 years old and nothing's wrong with it and I want to upgrade to stainless steam metal roof, that's different.
Like my business is 50-50 about
retail versus insurance.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I don't see how it's impossible for me to churn my retail 100% pay by insurance. I just don't see the damage and we're looking for it. We have supplementary in house.
Right, but so when you do retail, what is mostly repairs, right?
No, it's full siding, full replacement, everything.
Okay, but why are they generally wanting their roof replaced?
Outdated age, like for example, chimneys will be leaking because of the flashing, around them.
But if you have a HO3 policy, okay, this is where insurance
3 tabs, all of that stuff. I mean, if we have missing shingles already, even if it's one, we're gonna start it.
But let me explain this to you. This is where public adjusting comes in, right? If you have an HO3 policy, which is the most common policy, okay, HO3, okay, it covers water damage on the inside of your house. So that chimney flashing that's leaking, okay, the water gets inside the house, it's covered. It's covered. Now, so what you do is you work backwards, okay? So say this is our living room, let's just say. We have drywall that's got water damage. You say, okay, this is covered, right, Mr. Adjuster? Yes. Okay, so the drywall's got to come out, got all the inside content manipulation, got to mask everything, you know, all the plastic, blah, 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 blah. Okay, we got insulation above this, it's got to come out. Okay, now what about the roof decking? Because if the water came down and it damaged the insulation, damaged the drywall, what about the roof decking? Well, the roof decking has got to be covered, because why would you cover the drywall and not cover the roof decking? Even staining, cosmetic damage is covered unless they have a cosmetic exclusion. And so now you tear into the roof decking around the chimney or whatever. Now you've opened up the roof to be an insurance claim. And now you have matching issues, or you have, you know, maybe the tiles discontinued.
What about product failures? What about CertainTeed Horizon? Roof is leaking because shingles failed.
99 times out of 100, when a shingle fails because of a product failure, it also has wind damage or some other sort of damage.
Yeah, they don't fail in a warehouse, but obviously on a real life condition.
But typically, you know, like.
Do you think, like, well, the question is, who should be liable to this? Should manufacturer be liable, or why is it insurance company liable for manufacturer? So if manufacturer sells the shingles that's supposed to last 25 years and fails after 5, why is it insurance claim?
Well, it depends, right? It depends on what's going on. But my stance typically is it's way easier for a homeowner to, because they have a contract with the insurance company, to file an insurance claim if there's wind damage to a roof or whatever damage to a roof than it is for them to go back to the roofer and the roofer go back to the manufacturer. If you have concurrent issues, concurrent causation of, you have a manufacturer defect and you have wind damage. And look, you have to understand, wind damage could be, you have a 3-tab shingle and the wind blew it up, it blew debris underneath it, and it folded back down and halfway sealed, and that's it. It's like, guess what? That's wind damage, because you have debris, dirt, pine straw, whatever it is underneath there. That's wind damage. How do you fix that, right? And so when you have concurrent causation, what I say is file a claim on the insurance, let the insurance company subrogate to the manufacturer and say, look, you have insurance, you know, for your manufacturing defects and so forth, and we had to pay because you manufacture defects. Does it happen
often? That scenario you just described?
I think subrogation happens often, but you know, maybe not that exact scenario, but subrogation.
So almost all claims.
The vast majority of claims I can find coverage for. I mean, I could take you to my house and find coverage for claims right now. I mean, I could take you to most houses and find coverage. You just got to know what you're looking for, and you got to know what's going on.
What about dates? So, like, for example, if, like, we deal with it, let's say we have a claim 4 years ago and people did not take care of it, didn't file it, passed the date, so obviously they have leaks now it's out of pocket.
Well, no, I mean, it's not out of pocket. It depends on the state that you're in, of how far you can go back on the insurance claim and stuff like that. But you know, some states, like, you can go back 5 years or whatever.
Like in Minnesota, I think they give you like 1 or 2 years. So what happens if your homeowners don't do it and now you have leaks?
Well, you know, one question is, you know, when this arises, you have to understand that insurance policies typically only last for 1 year, okay, from the date it's issued to the 1 year later, right? And so the insurance company, I'm going to bore you with some insurance talk. When on the declarations page, okay, the insurance company is insuring the property that's described on the declaration page, and they're insuring the property that's described on the declaration page as a whole, okay, as a whole unit. And so that means they're insuring everything, including the roof, okay? And so they're taking a portion of that money that you're paying your premium is going toward insuring your roof, okay? If they think that your roof should not be covered because of a past event, then they need to tell you that and say, we can't renew your policy unless you fix this because you have damage and our underwriting department says you're going to have to fix the damages. Once they take your premium, okay, then they're saying we're insuring your property as a whole, including your roof and everything else. And so when you have water damage that comes in the future, you say, I'm claiming the most recent water damage. That's what I'm claiming. And they say, oh, this happened in the past. It's like, not this water damage right here, it just rained yesterday.
I see.
So I'm claiming this. And so people don't understand, an insurance company can't deny something that you're not claiming. And they try that all the time, and it's smoke and mirrors, right? It's smoke and mirrors. So they say, oh, we're not, this is wear and tear and so forth. So I'm not claiming wear and tear. I'm claiming this specific water damage over here. You know, oh, your plumbing leak has gone on for more than 2 weeks, more than 14 days, so we're not paying it. So I'm not claiming day 15 and 16. I'm claiming all the damage happening in the first 13 days. Why are you trying to deny something I'm not claiming?
Comment below if you're a roofing contractor, what's the percentage of claims versus retail in your business?
If I'm a contractor, what's going to be? I would be almost exclusively insurance, and I would do repairs and stuff. Look, there's things where insurance claims don't need to be filed, right? There's legitimate even wind damage or whatever that would be a covered claim that don't need to be a claim doesn't need to be filed. Say you have a new roof and you have small damage and the roof is completely repairable, legitimately completely repairable. It's going to match up perfectly. Nobody's going to be able to tell, and it's going to be $1,200. No need to file a claim. It's retail. Go do the repair. Build your customer base and stuff like you preach, right? The stuff you're teaching, that's retail. But typically, it's not the case in real life. Typically, you go out there and the shingle is going to be a little bit different. The color is going to be a little bit faded. It's not going to match up. The mechanics of the tile isn't going to fit in like it did because they discontinued this over here. So they discontinued this, or this color's off, or whatever it is. And you say, okay, we need to file a claim and get the whole roof bought, get the interior. Maybe the decking's got to be brought up to code. You got to re-nail the roof decking, whatever. So I would say, but going back to what you asked about, the advice I would give to the roofers or contractors: have integrity and sub everything out that you can. Let people be the experts at what they do, and you be the expert at something very small, and build from there. And so what I would start out with, if I was a brand new roofer, is I would start out with getting roof jobs, like figuring out how to actually get the jobs, okay? And then I would do the jobs and do them very well.
On the way here to the airport, I saw like burned gas station.
Yeah.
Just like right there. Like I pass it all the time. That's the gas station I've always hit from the airport or to the airport, and now it's gone.
Yeah, I mean we're less than a week when that stuff went down with that.
It's like 4 or 5 days. We traveled on Thursday to Atlanta, and when I left town, I barely heard anything about it. When I came back, the whole city was on fire within 2 days.
Yeah.
It's like better cancel class, and we actually have a class in Minneapolis. First got canceled because COVID-19, and then we still consider it to do it, but now the whole city is on fire. I'm like, I'm not doing nothing.
Well, earlier you asked me how I got into public adjusting, and I didn't even really get around to all of it, but the reason why I got into public adjusting is from studying the Bible and so forth. Because if you study Bible prophecy, in the future, things generally just get worse. They generally the weather gets worse, the vandalism gets worse, the people get worse. You have arson, you have fraud, you have all of these things get worse. And I thought about this a long time ago before, when I went to Phoenix around that time. I'm like, man, I know all these things are coming. I know everything's going to get worse.
Job security.
Yeah, would God be mad at me if I use that to my advantage? And I remember the scripture in Amos 3:7 that says, truly the Lord God would do nothing unless he reveals it to his servants, the prophets first. And if God reveals something in the Bible, he's given it to us. And so I'm like, so I don't see God being mad at me if I position myself to where I can make a living all the way up until the end and do well. And so it's gonna get worse and worse, man.
Thanks for sharing. Thanks for giving us hope, man.
Well, your hope is the blessed hope, man. That's it.
Have you been called ambulance chaser? Or that context?
You know, I mean, not really. I mean, you know, there's you know who shows the most hate, I think, for public adjusters is some insurance agents. Some insurance agents hate us. And the reason why is because how they get paid. You know, we make their loss ratios go up. And really it's a testimony to how good we are. Because if we didn't get more money, you know, and we didn't show people when they had claims, then we wouldn't affect the agents. But the agents, not all agents, there's good agents, there's good independent agents that you
How does it affect them? They don't get bonuses? They don't...
Yeah. Right. Like if they're writing policies that you know, that are constantly showing losses or whatever, then you know they're not getting bonuses. So
but they're still getting paid. They just don't get.
They get paid. They're just not getting paid as much, and so they don't like that. And
So messed up. The whole thing.
the whole thing's messed. It's well. Think about this. An agent is in a bad situation because you can't. The Bible says you can't serve two masters, right? It's like, who's your master? The insurance company is paying you, but the homeowner is your customer.
Homeowners paying you essentially.
The homeowner is paying you, and then you're giving the money to the insurance company, and the insurance company is giving you money back, right? And so the money is coming from the homeowner. It's like, well, who's your master? Because when a homeowner files a claim, now you have an adversarial relationship. Every dollar that
This is deep.
Right. Every dollar that the insurance company pays is a dollar they no longer have. So every dollar the insurance company pays to the homeowner, they no longer have a dollar. Homeowner has a dollar. Who's your master, Mr. Agent? Of course, outwardly, publicly, they'll say the homeowner is my customer. That's who I'm looking out for. And it's like, then why do you have a problem with a PA helping them? Why do you have a problem with PAs and contractors that are out helping these people, and so forth? But yeah, and it's not every agent. Believe me, there's good agents. We work with agents. We refer people to agents. But then you have some bad agents, and it's just completely unethical. Some of the things they're doing.
The safest way for a roofing YouTuber or podcaster to start interview is just to ask a question. How did you get in the roofing industry? Because answer is always unique. How in the world did you become a public adjuster?
Well, it's interesting because my dad actually was a roofer. Most people don't know that about me. I fell off my first ladder at 4 years old, man. So I went to my dad was on a job, just a residential job. Started climbing the ladder. I was only 4. My dad came over and grabbed the top of the ladder. He was on the roof. Started shaking it, and I fell off. And so I guess that was my roots all the way back. How I got started really is I went out to Phoenix, Arizona when that huge hailstorm hit. They had I think it was like 100,000, homes that were damaged or something like that. And, because I had a background with that kind of thing, and I went out there and I was I went out there like a year later than everybody else. Basically did roofing sales, had a couple of deals worked out with, roofing companies. I wasn't really working for them. I was just kind of doing the whole thing, and their license, was on the table, that kind of thing. And just, I just ran into all these adjusters that were underpaying and not paying and so forth and so on. And it just kind of went from there. I mean, I decided, look, this is, roofing sales is one thing, but what the people really need is somebody fighting for them to actually get the money. And so evolved over time. I went and worked a storm in New York and so forth that came through right after that. Hurricane Irene came through, hit North Carolina, went up to New York, and I was wanting to cut my teeth, so I went and worked for this insurance carrier, and I only worked for them for maybe 30 to 60 days. And they're like, you got to go, because I was paying all the claims. Typically people, they get paid on a fee, right? And so the more that they pay out, the more they make, okay? And you would think, oh, well, that's good, because the independents they'll pay the claim, right? Well, what people don't realize is when they turn it into the insurance company shuts it down and says, we're not paying $100,000 for that slate roof. We're going to pay $3,500. And so here's the independent adjuster that's put in all this time of writing, $100,000 loss and doing the proper scope and everything like that, that was going to make $3,000, on a fee, that is now getting a kickback, and they want him to revise it to $3,500. The sad part is most people don't stand up on their principles and say, I'm not changing. Most people just say, well, okay, and then they change it, and then they get trained that they're only going to pay $6,000 or $3,000 or $10,000. And so the independent adjuster says, I need to feed my family, and so I'm just going to, I know they're not going to approve what it should be, I'm just going to write it low, and they'll approve it, and I'll make $300, but I'll make it fast. And so that's what happens. And but it didn't work with me. I said, I'm not changing any of the estimates, that's what they are. In my opinion, it's simply that there's way more debate and negotiation in homeowners claims and in property claims. For example, if you have a 1995, Kia Sorento and you have a car wreck, the insurance company knows very close down to the dollar of what that's worth. When you figure out the mileage and so forth, they know how much it's worth. They know how much a fender's worth and stuff like that. The insurance companies pay, way more out in homeowners claims than they do car claims. Vehicle, it's not even close. It's not even close. And so if you're trying to save money...
Have you looked at the numbers, how much they're paying versus how much they're collecting?
Oh, it's unreal. It's unreal.
When contractors think that, or homeowners think that insurance companies are losing, they never lose. I think Allstate is like 30 billion, State Farm 60 billion, but the payout is like 5 billion a year.
Yeah, the only time insurance companies lose at all is when they lose on purpose, and I've seen them do this. And let me explain what happens. Like, you'll see it in the groups, and the roofers, most of them don't know what's going on, but they'll say, all of a sudden, Allstate or State Farm is paying out. They've changed, And it's like, look, a leopard doesn't change its spots. They're paying out in this certain region. The reason why is because their whole goal is profit, okay? And so they go up on their premiums, but they can't just go up on their premiums on their own. They have to get the state to approve it, okay? And so when they go to the state and they say, we need to go up on our premiums, the state says, you guys are making $50 billion a year. We don't see where you need to go up on your premiums. Keep it right there. And so then they say, okay,
we're going to go spend some.
We're going to go spend some for a year. So for the next 10 years, we can make it up, tenfold. And so they'll tell their adjusters, look, I want you to pay the claims. It's all about customer service. Get the client happy, get the customer happy. And so then they go out there and they pay these claims for a year or less. And then they go back to the insurance commissioner of these states and they say, see, we told you we need to go up on our premiums. Now look at the money that we've lost because this hailstorm came through or this hurricane came through or whatever. And they say, okay, you can go up. And as soon as they go up, we're not paying claims.
So when you introduce yourself to new people, what's your title? You tell people you're public adjuster. Who is Bo Williamson?
It depends who I'm talking to. Typically I don't introduce myself like that. I just...
So what do you do for a living if we just, I don't know, well, you don't go to the bars, so I'm not, you don't eat sugar, you don't drink coffee, I can't meet you at Starbucks. Okay, on the beach, we're on the beach and just met you. What do you do, man?
I'm spending time with my kids. I'm not spending time with you. If somebody asks me what I do, I tell them, I say I own a public adjusting company. I own Noble Public Adjusting Group, and basically.
Let's talk about that profession, because it seems to me it's category of its own in the construction industry now. It's growing. Sure. Is it fair to say that you are in business because someone is not doing what they're supposed to be doing? Yeah. Your entire industry was born because of the fraud, essentially.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. If the insurance companies paid out properly, which they don't 99.9% of the time, but
it's a big statement.
Yeah, but 0.1% of the time they do. And 0.1% of the time is like that scenario I just mentioned earlier. But if the insurance company paid out like they're supposed to pay, there wouldn't be a need for public adjusters. But
so you're like police. If everyone will start obeying the law, we don't need the police.
Right.
So if insurance company will start paying the claims, we don't need public adjusters.
if everybody kept the 10 Commandments, it'd be like heaven on earth. But it's not going to happen, you know. It's just, you know, it's greed. Look, the insurance companies, they've done the studies. You know, they've you have the McKinsey report with Allstate. You know, you have from good hands to boxing gloves, and they know, they've done the studies. How they make the most money is taking in as much premiums as they can and paying out as little as they can, and, you know, delay, deny, defend, deny the claims, delay the claims, drag it out, pay as little as possible, try to wear out the people, wear them down, and they make more money by ripping people off.
And what's the life of public adjuster look like?
Well, look, I mean, we're looking at being, you know, at 100 people by the end of the month, hired on. I mean, that's kind of where we're looking to be. But you know, work-life balance, I don't know. I mean, public adjuster is more of a white-collar, you know, profession than a blue-collar profession. Work-life balance, I don't know. Like, my staff takes 24 hours off every week from Friday at sundown until Saturday at sundown. Like, we absolutely do no work at all. Like, in the entire company, nobody does anything work-related at all. And then on Sundays, you know, there's a little bit of work. It depends if a storm has hit or a hurricane has hit or whatever. But even when there hasn't, there's a little bit of work, people doing things. But Monday through Friday, it's slammed.
How often you cannot help homeowners and you take to the attorney level?
You know, our job as public adjusters is to present the claim in the most favorable light possible, and then to get as much money as possible. We have claims. I had a claim in Destin that it wasn't a hurricane claim. It was just a regular water loss claim. The insurance company offered $11,700. I settled it at $600,000.
Sure.
It's like, and then we have claims that are denials that we get $100,000, $50,000, $1 million. I mean, so forth and so on. How do you do the math on that?
Is it possible to always get ONP?
Yeah.
Every single time?
Depending on the state, yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's...
What states are very hard to get ONP?
That I don't know, because I can't think of a time I've ever not gotten O&P, but there's states that we're not in that I've heard people say it was a struggle to get it, you know, that we don't do business in. But all the states that we're located in, which is the entire southeastern United States, we get O&P. It's not that difficult.
Why do you need a public adjuster?
Well, I mean, I think for a bunch of reasons. I mean, you have, first of all, you have somebody on your team. Think about it depends who you are. It depends if you're a contractor or insured or what. But a contractor, you know, hopefully they're feeding you deals. A good public adjusting company is going to feed you deals. I mean, that's one thing right there. Another thing is you know, they kind of help edify you and sell you to the homeowner or the business owner if you're a good contractor that's been vetted by the public adjusting firm, because the PAs need good contractors to work with, and I think contractors need good PAs to work with. And so, why do you need it? It's just for the expertise. It's for, you know, all the insurance stuff. It's so that you're not violating UPA violations. It's so that, you know, you have somebody else reviewing the policy and the policy period and doing all this stuff. You have somebody else that's an expert at insurance statutes and can use those to the advantage of the insured and against the insurance company. And a good PA is going to know building code and so forth and so on, and everything, and work hand in hand with you. You have someone else meeting the adjuster and negotiating with the adjuster, so you can be out selling additional jobs. You can be out, depending on your position, putting the roof on the property, or putting, the siding on the property, or fixing the interior. And so, you have someone else that's doing all these things, and frankly, they should be doing them better and way better than what their percentage would hurt you. So if a public adjuster's percentage is hurting you, then you have a bad public adjuster.
How do you deal with homeowners like that, where you can feel they're maybe a little bit shady. I know a lot of contractors are complaining about that. Hey, I'm fighting for this homeowner, and then we finally win, and the homeowner goes and starts shopping around and trying to keep the money and stuff like that. It happens. What's your advice for the contractor? Maybe
a couple of things. One is they need a PA involved, I think, because with a PA, we get a partial assignment of the claim. And so if we're at 10% or we're at 20% or whatever, we're getting a partial assignment of that claim, and we're representing the insured, so the check is being sent to us. And so if you have a direction of pay or an assignment, it depends on what state you're in, it depends on what you're doing, what's legal in those states. But if you have anything like that, then you should already have a contract. You should already have a contract with the insured. You shouldn't wait until Noble goes and gets the homeowner, $300,000 to go and get your contract. You should get your contract at the beginning when there's no other roofer there to tarp their roof because they don't have enough cash to fork it out or whatever. You should be there and say, I'll put on this $500 tarp job and let Noble bill it to the insurance company. I just need you to go ahead and sign saying I'm going to get the job. And you need to consult with an attorney to make sure your contracts are valid and enforceable and all that, and there's consideration there. But that's it. But I would think having direction of pay, having having your rights, you just got to have your stuff together, whether it's your lien rights and so forth and so on. And you don't want to go down that road. It's best to get paid on the front end. But if a PA is not involved and you're out there and you're helping the insured you're kind of acting as a quasi PA and helping, meeting the adjuster and trying to help the insured get paid, and then you don't even have a contract, it's like, that's bad business. It's not very smart, So I would say team up with a PA, make sure your contracts are solid with an attorney, and make sure you're in compliance with that state, and just get as much as you can. And try to do some work, try to do mitigation, try to have, try to go ahead and get some kind of consideration, maybe even drop materials. If you're working with a PA, a lot of times we may get 50, 60, 70% of the money very quickly, where it's only 60% of the money, but it's enough to pay for your labor, your materials, and be able to go get you something to eat, and so you could go ahead early on, you could go ahead and do the job, keep your crews going, keep your subs going, however you're doing your business, keep your suppliers paid, and so forth, and go ahead and do it, and sit back and wait for the profit. If it takes a few more months, it's like, well, you're not out of any money. Meanwhile, you're working another job that was thrown to you by the PA,
How often do you get accused of being shady or greedy or committed fraud? I know even all contractors, every time you have a conflict or something, they're like, oh, you didn't do that. Like, that's a fraud. Like, everybody's trying to point a finger.
A couple of things. One is, our company, my wife and I named our company Noble. So, that's not a noun. That's an adjective. That's a verb. That's an adverb. Because the stigma that was around when we started our company of you have these greasy kind of, PAs that are, just this whole look that I don't want to even describe, just like the grease bag hair, just like the taco meat hanging out, just like way worse than me, right? Looks wise and everything else, but morally, kind of doing shady stuff. And kind of our thing was, we have to change this stigma, and let's name our company Noble and live up to the name, like integrity be the top, the top priority and the top thing in our company, and we preach it all the time. But the reason why we get more money is, what you just described is it's a mental issue. So like when you have wealthy people, you have poor people, right? So I was raised very poor, and praise the Lord, now I'm wealthy, okay? I would consider myself wealthy. And so, but I was raised in trailer parks, and I was raised in projects and more trailers, and we would lose the trailer, and then, I'd have to work to, and so, and that kind of thing. Well, I figured out early on that the people around me didn't know anything about money. I knew that in fact, almost everything they did was wrong, and I knew what they did about money, what they did with life, You ask, why don't you drink caffeine? Why don't you smoke? Why don't you drink? Everybody around me did that as a kid, and I knew that didn't work. I knew that was not, I didn't want to be like these guys. And so I said, whatever you guys do, I'm going to do the opposite. Well, it's worked well for me.
Did they drink coffee?
Yeah, coffee and tea, right? And so, Alabama, man, they drink tea mostly. But anyway, it led me onto the right track as a kid. But the point I'm getting to is, I was raised around poor people, and it's a poor mentality to say wealthy people or rich people are scumbags. They're shady. They have to be doing something shady to be able to get that kind of money. And I would submit to you that not only is that not true, I read a book called The Millionaire Mind in my early 20s. It was written by the same guy that wrote The Millionaire Next Door, and they studied self-made decamillionaires, and they came up with a list of like 35 characteristics, and number one was tied with integrity. Okay, and that, I was taken aback when I read that at like 19, 20 years old. I'm like, I've been taught my whole life that these rich people are the bad guys, and this book is telling me the hardcore evidence that if this person tells you something, that's the way it is. If they say, I'm going to be somewhere, they're there at that time.
All the people in the insurance world, they're all real adjusters? No,
I can't answer the question, man. I can't answer that. I will tell you, though, it's very hard to get good footage, good stuff with the real adjusters.
I know.
They either leave or they clam up, and
So what did you do? Hire actors?
I can't answer.
Unbelievable. How does religion helps this business, helps the show?
Look, I think that,
Because you're very public about it.
Look, yeah, that's who I am. Like, I'm an aspiring Christian. Like, I want to be a Christian, right? To me, it's even more so if you're serious about, like, believing in the Bible. Because, integrity really is doing the right thing when nobody's looking. If you don't have that extra, I'm not living for just myself. I need to glorify God and so forth. That, you have that incentive to represent, Jesus Christ and so forth and so on in your life. Whereas, outside of that, you're kind of, the standard is whatever people will accept. Maybe you're in an industry, that everybody's fine with cussing and so forth and so on, or something along those lines, or everybody drinks alcohol nowadays and so forth and so on. And it's like, well, I don't do those things. And not only do I think that, do I know that God blesses me because of those things? Because I've tested God, like He says, a test. You're like, do these things and see, if I won't overflow your cup and stuff there in Malachi. And I've done it. It's like today, I'm digging up this shirt where I won the arm wrestling match as a vegan in Dimitri's, arm wrestling match against all those heavyweights. I was digging through here.
Reagan is not very Christian.
No, I was just thinking about how, I was just stronger than all of you guys because, God gives me strength like Samson. But basically, I was digging for the shirt, and I was thinking, I have so many clothes in here, and I typically wear the same kind of stuff every day. I have so many clothes, and I was just thinking, man, God blesses me so much, and I'm always thinking about how much God blesses me, and it's because of the principles, and it's, I think that people know that when you think about this, I believe that Christians should keep the 10 Commandments, right? So that's something I believe different than most Christians. Most Christians, I could show you a book right here that's put out by, a particular church, Catholic Church, of where the Catholic Church has changed the 10 Commandments, okay? And I can show you where Christians today typically teach that, 9 commandments are good or whatever. I don't believe that. I personally believe that under the new covenant that Christians should keep all 10 commandments, including the Sabbath, okay? Well, the Sabbath commandment says in Exodus 28 through 11 that you're not supposed to work from sundown Friday until sundown Saturday. For that 24 hours, you're not supposed to work.
What public adjuster can and cannot do?
Well, a public adjuster can't, represent you in court, they can't legally represent you in as far as in a lawsuit or something along those lines. They can testify. They can.
But you need a lawyer.
You need a lawyer to file a suit. So a PA can't do that, and a PA can't do a lot of things. I mean, we can't do the work in most states. I mean, in Illinois, you can be a contractor and a PA on the same job. But in most states, you can't do that. You can't be the contractor and the PA.
Is it Illinois the only state you can do both?
That I know of, yeah. And even then, I think you have to have two separate companies.
Yep. We have students like that.
And so, so basically everybody in Chicago seems to be a PA or whatever. But it's completely different, right? Then again, you're getting away from the niche. There's so many things that change in insurance and building codes and stuff on a continual basis that, and since we're in 2020, things are moving so fast in the technology era and information age that people need to get really good at a niche. That's the problem, is people too spread out. They think they're going to do, make a large portion of money on a small amount of jobs when they really need to be worried about making a small portion of money and doing a phenomenal job on a great amount of jobs. It needs to be more of a volume kind of thing. But we can't be the contractor. We can't be the attorney. We can't take salvaged items from the house. From the property or whatever. We can't do. We can't benefit other ways from the property. As far as can't get kickbacks or something like that from the contractors. Like none of that stuff. You can't do. There's laws against all of that stuff. So.
What's your secret, recruiting secret? Do you go to the gyms to find you guys? Because every guy I've met here, just bodybuilder 101.
We have a lot of military guys. You're former military.
How do you find them?
It depends. Like Marcus was a Marine, Chris was a Marine, I was a Marine, Scott Thomason was a Marine, and then we have. So
you just knew each other?
No, we didn't know. Chris and I known each other since we were teenagers, but I didn't know these guys. It depends. It's different things. I have recruited people from the gym. I've recruited a couple of people from the gym, and they did well. But if I recruit somebody like that, it's because I've been watching them for a while, and I see that they have work ethic.
How much they lift?
How much they lift, yeah. They're consistent, they're driven, they have discipline in their life, they're watching what they're eating, their meals. And so a lot of people like that, I'll talk to them and see if they're likable, how sociable they are, and I just kind of sizing them up the whole time of what kind of personality do they have? I know they have the discipline, what kind of personality, and then would they fit?
Have you ever tried to recruit insurance adjuster? Who you're working with maybe on the plane?
At least, partially where, if I run into a good guy, which is few and far between, but there's some independent adjusters that are good guys.
Well, let's go arm wrestling.